Hi everyone, I'm Shelly and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. Today I wanted to give you a little peek inside the Times Tales workbook that I picked up for my kids. My first experience with Times Tales was actually in their CD, so you can get a CD or you can get a DVD for your kids to learn their times tables through Times Tales. But I wanted to get the workbook for my kids' morning baskets to help to solidify them with those of my kids who were really having a difficult time memorizing them, because I mentioned this several times. I've been trying everything, and Times Tales worked really well with one of my older daughters because it uses a mnemonic method. It actually uses stories to teach the times tables, and I'm going to show you how that works if you're not familiar with it. Okay, so in Times Tales, your children will be introduced to some characters who are also numbers. So these are the number symbol characters. They are the butterfly, which is a number 3, the chair, which is a number 4. The 6 is actually the 6th grade class. It says this boy represents the 6th grade class. 7 is Mrs. Week. 8 is Mrs. Snowman. And 9 is Treehouse. So your kids need to familiarize themselves with who these characters are, because they are going to be the main characters in the stories that are going to help them to learn their multiplication facts. So the first page that they can do is actually just to help them to learn these characters. So they just have to put the number that each symbol is and then write down what it is. And even though this says that it's for children in 3rd to 5th grade, you can use this on any child who needs to solidify their times tables or just needs to kind of get them down faster than what they already have them. I never look at the grade levels on these workbooks. So when I go over Times Tales with my kids, recently, since we just started this, I just got this a couple weeks. Did I say got it? Oh Lord, I just got this a couple weeks ago for my kids. So some of my younger kids were never exposed to the Times Tales CD. This is their first time actually encountering this. So I have been going over who the characters are every week. Not every week, every day that we do this, so that they can memorize them. So now here, what they have to do on the next page is they will learn the story. So this is a story for, I'm going to hold this up so you can see better. This is the story for, you'll see 6 times 4 is 24, but your kids don't even have to know that. It just says read the story and look at the picture. The 6th grade class played musical chairs for 24 hours. So you will see that the 6th grade class is all playing musical chairs around the chair. So we have a 6 and a 4. And a lot of people have been pointing out to me that there are 3 6s. It's very unfortunate. I think that it's sad that they overlooked that when making this book. I don't think that it's anything really to worry about. I think this is just something that they weren't thinking when they did it. But anyway, and then here it says 24 hours is an entire day. Explain how you would feel after playing musical chairs for 24 hours. So it's really just trying to familiarize them with the story, to get the story in the head so that they can remember what it's all about. So my daughter just said, I would be really tired. Then number 3, just again, another question that's just to get them to memorize what the story is. Why do you think the 6th grade class decided to play musical chairs for that many hours? My daughter said they were forced to do it by the government. You can tell she's my daughter. So anyway, so then on the next page, now she didn't get this far yet. Some of my other kids got farther than she did. But the next page will have another story review. So they have to look at each phrase and put the story in the correct order. And this is all just to get them to learn the story. They have to write the story sentence. And then down here, they have to answer the question. And yeah, just both answering questions about the story. So, and you have to keep doing this with your kids until they have that story memorized. And it's not hard for them to memorize that. Once they have that memorized, you move on to the next story. So the next story is Mrs. Week went butterfly hunting. She captured 20 in her net and 1 landed on her head. So as you can see, this is to help them to memorize 7 times 3 is 21. And it really has the same format for all of them. And they will go through all of their facts. Now you'll notice that there is no 5, there's no 1, and there's no 2. And that is because, well, the 1's times tables are really easy, and obviously 0. 2's are easy because you're just doubling, and 5's are easy because you're just counting by 5s, and most children don't seem to have an issue with that. So there are no 0, 1, 2s, or 5s. But anyway, so they will just learn all the stories for these facts, and that is what part 1 is. And so what they tell you is not to move on to part 2 until your kids have memorized all the stories for part 1. They have to know this. And so now here you have a story review quiz. Now we haven't gotten this far, so like I'm looking at this for the first time now with you. So story review quiz. And then they have to draw one of the stories from part 1 and write the story sentence for the picture. And then they're asked to write the multiplication problem. So they are learning to link that, to make that connection that the stories have to do with multiplication. So then in part 1, before you continue on to part 2, then there's some flashcard practice here. There's a little quiz, a little test. And yeah, so when your child is ready, then they can move on to part 2. Now, if your child is not ready to move on to part 2 yet, if they just still don't have them down yet, I do believe this is still part 2. Oh yeah. So in the back here, there are actually flashcards, and there's games. And as you can see, there are division problems here. There are division flashcards. So they will get to division also. And so this is all for extra help if they don't understand or if they don't know their facts yet before they move on to part 2. So then part 2 is just the same thing basically. Mr. and Mrs. Week have 4 dogs and 9 cats. So that's showing you Mr. and Mrs. Weeks. So there's 2 sevens, and then they have 4 dogs and 9 cats, 49. And this really was a godsend for my daughter, the one who's 15 now. She learned her multiplication so fast with this CD. And I'm hoping that it's going to be the same way with my children with using the workbook. The reason I'm not using the CD with my kids now is just because I remember that it was always so crowded with all of the kids kind of hovering all around my laptop to watch the CD. I could go out and get the DVD, but our remote is always missing for our Blu-ray player. We can't use it without the remote. So yeah, there's really no point. So I'm hoping that the workbook is going to work out. If not, we'll resort back to the CD or the DVD again. But so far, my kids really enjoy doing this. They have fun. They don't complain about this at all. So anyway, that's what this workbook looks like. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one either here or over on Instagram. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.